Ready yourselves, prisoners. I am gonna try to make this the final episode. I've been working ceaselessly, as you can see, cycle over 1,000. Ceaselessly I've been working to get this to function. So today we are going to be taking a look at the remaining systems. I will explain how they work so that you can replicate them in your own game. And then I'll probably be doing some jump cuts, as a lot of time will need to pass to actually engage on the plan. But let's begin. For starters, I can't remember if I talked about this in the last episode, but we have redesigned the solar system. I needed as much space as possible. You can see they are mostly at maximum power. And this is because the system had to be very close to completely redesigned. Not completely redesigned, but very close to it. We kept the steel bunker barrier just underneath the top of this. This remained this ladder system so that there would be access so that the duplicates could walk around. What I did, however, though, was I added the robominers. Why are you damaged? You shouldn't be damaged. I don't know which of these panels are damaged, but the robominers are given priority in terms of height, because we want to cut off the blocks from raining down as much as possible. The second priority went to these. These need to have open air. It's not just light that's important. They need open air, so the diamond tiles would not do because the diamond tiles obstruct airflow. So these got priority with airflow tiles so that air can go through. The airflow tiles also permit light to come down for the solar panels to work. The second priority in terms of top to bottom went to the space scanners. This one's working at maximum efficiency, and the overall network is at 124%, meaning we don't have to worry about any meteors catching us off guard. They've been spaced in a way that they are 14 tiles away from each other, over 14 tiles. Like, you could put one right in the middle, and there would be 14 tiles in between them. We don't need every 14 tiles because, I mean, we're over... the network capability is over 120. You will see that when they get closer to here, the scanning quality is degraded. And that's because they're close to heavy machinery. Even though this is no longer in use, it's not connected to anything, it just needs to be present for us to access the Starman. And our destination to beat the game is right here. This is our goal, to breach the temporal Terra. So, that gets... I know you've seen that system over there, but let's talk about how the robominers work. The robominers are designed in a way that they can cover... These panels here are designed to prevent them from being entombed by the regolith falling down, but they are designed in a way that they can access each other's top airflow tile. And it is true all the way down to the very end of the list. You will find this to be true. They all can access each other. The next thing you'll notice is that there is background panels, and that's because these will overheat over time because they're in the vacuum where their temperature doesn't change, and they will generate their own heat from being turned on. So I needed some kind of atmosphere in the background, and I chose a liquid atmosphere. There is a puddle of crude oil on the bottom of every one of these, because this is what's necessary to transfer temperature. You need to have either a liquid or a gas present that is not being vacuumed off, so liquid was the best choice. This allows the system, you can probably see it now, these little beads of liquid going through, because this is attached to our liquid cooling system. Coming in at about 230, leaving at 310, so it's picking up about 100 degrees. Going all the way down back to this area. Remember this guy, huh? Our aqua tuner that we weren't using originally, we are now using with this over here in order to prevent this from overheating, if that is indeed what would happen. This thing isn't fully filled with liquid. As you can see, lots of gaps, so this doesn't literally run 24/7, which is fine because it uses up a lot of electricity, which is, at least during the daytime, held at bay by these large quantity of solar panels. Each one of them at maximum sunlight generates 380 watts, in more than enough to pay off our, what do you call it, thermal aqua tuner. In the event it gets too hot in here, this will activate, and it will begin cooling off the steam, preventing the steam from getting too hot. And then on top of that, it itself will generate up to 150 watts, but that's assuming that the heat gets close to about here. This meter tells you how hard the generator is currently working. As it powers up, we'll get to see. So the very low output, we are getting 238, about 200, let's round it up, 250 watts is being currently generated. But still, 250 watts, it's paying off, it's paying something off with its power. Now then, the most advanced of these systems is right before you. This is the gas condenser. It condenses gas eventually into liquid, which you see it has not completed this yet. That's because I activated this very recently. This just now turned on. I'll show you how it works. In here is super coolant. About 600 kilograms is what the system is running off of. There's a little bit of a gap to prevent it from jamming. If it's completely filled to the brim, it'll jam up. At any rate, super coolant, let's look at that first. Super coolant, as the name suggests, is a very good coolant. Why is it a good coolant, you might ask? Well, one, its freezing point is very low. Negative 456 degrees. So it must get extremely cold before it freezes. Perfect if you're trying to make this very cold so that it will make other things cold. Its evaporation point, meaning the point at which it turns to gas, is very high, 800 degrees. It will be very hard for this to turn into a gas, especially in this very cold environment, or this environment that will become very cold. But even more, specific heat capacity and thermal conductivity. These numbers are extremely high. Let's see. Specific heat capacity, 4.6. Let's compare that to water. Specific heat capacity, 2.3. So what that means is how much heat the substance per kilogram, we'll just put it like that, how much substance per gram it is capable of storing. So that means that for every kilogram, for every gram of supercoolant, it can store basically twice the amount of heat inside of it, and therefore transport twice the amount of heat as water. What about conductivity? Thermal conductivity of water is 0.3. How about for supercoolant? Thermal conductivity is 5. It's insane. Thermal conductivity refers to how quickly it transfers heat energy from one to another. For example, you imagine if you grabbed a chunk of ice and you held it in your hand would get cold pretty quick. It's a combination of how cold it is as well as the ability of two materials to transfer temperature energy in the form of temperature. This stuff conducts temperature to an extreme level, meaning it leaches the heat out of anything it comes into contact with and stores it inside of itself, and that's why it's so effective. So right now, it's coming out at 18 degrees. Believe it or not, just 10 or 15 minutes ago, maybe 20 minutes ago, it was coming in at 120 degrees. So it's already down to that. Now, it's leaching the heat to an extreme level, as you've seen in other similar systems, but it's coming back at 40 degrees. This strips, I forget how much temperature out of it, but it strips a lot of the heat out of it and outputs it at, in this case, 17 degrees. So every time this goes through this coiling system, it's going to get colder and colder and colder. And inside here we have hydrogen gas being fed. Let's follow it back over here. Hydrogen gas being fed from this hydrogen geyser. Hydrogen is 230 degrees over here. These are made out of thermium, the most temperature-resistant metal that we can build with. It's sucking it up, though, at 200 degrees. And by the time it gets there, it's going to lose some heat just from... Even though these are insulated pipes, it's just going to lose some heat along the way. So when it reaches here, it's arriving at about 100 degrees. But in here, due to the supercoolant leaching the heat out of the gas, it's almost down to 0 degrees. And our supercoolant, look at this, already down to 16 degrees. Constantly getting colder. That's just what the supercoolant does. Now over here, we have oxygen. Same concept. Oxygen is down to about 20 degrees. We're using a high-pressure vent in order to cram as much gas in here as possible. The high-pressure vent is connected to this system over here. That's going, it's feeding some of it here. So all of the excess oxygen is going there, but following it back to here, where we have a bunch of oxygen being pumped in. This was here as a redundant system to maintain the gas pressure, but as you can see here, gas pressure is almost 3 kilograms. Because of this here, we have a high-pressure gas vent to force gas into here, even over the normal level. And why is so much gas being produced here? Look at this. All of this gas here. The reason for that is quite simple. And it's because we've doubled our system here. This is another electrolyzer room right next to each other. And the electrolyzer room is pumping into here. Now, it's actually getting a bit clogged up, to be honest. Like, we're hitting kind of the maximum, so I might separate them and just run 2 pipes. But either way, this is a ton of oxygen. Lots and lots and lots of oxygen. More than enough oxygen that our duplicates need to breathe. And it's going to go into our gas condenser. And the reason for this is because eventually... Now, these haven't been hooked up because they don't need to be. Not yet. But this is eventually going to turn into liquid, and it's going to fill up with extremely cold liquid. And that's what we're going to turn into fuel. Instead of petroleum, this is going to be reconstructed. But these tanks are going to be a liquid hydrogen tanks. And instead of solid oxidizer tanks using oxalite, they're going to use liquid oxygen. And that's what this is for. Turning oxygen gas into liquid oxygen. Turning hydrogen gas into liquid oxygen. Now over here, we have hydrogen, but we're not using a high-pressure gas vent. We're using regular gas vent. So regular gas vent will pressurize the gas up to about 2 kilograms per tile. So you see right here there's 1960. It's still kind of evening out. But the reason for that is because there is water in here. Eventually, these things will get hot enough that they vaporize the water and turn the water into steam. Now, to prevent this from, heating up until these aqua tuners break down, these kick on and will eventually suck up that, and, just like you've seen the other one. Same concept. But then these will get hot, and so these Weesports need some type of atmosphere, just like with the robo-miners. They need some kind of atmosphere to keep them cool. In this case, it's going to be hydrogen. The reason for that is because hydrogen is a very good gas. Where is it? Gas. Hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas is much better than other gases at transferring it. Now, this seems really bad compared to liquid, but that's just due to the nature of liquid. But as far as gas atmospheres go, hydrogen is really good at transferring heat and absorbing heat. So hydrogen is the ideal gas for this environment. Especially, it doesn't matter that we can't breathe it. And then over here we have our 2 advanced liquid locks produced from our viscogel. And the reason we've chose viscogel over here, but we haven't chose viscogel over here, is due to the properties of viscogel. Oops. Let's look at its database entry. So viscogel, the evaporation point is basically 900 degrees. So this will not turn into a gas until 900 degrees, meaning it will maintain its liquid form in terms of heat up to 900 degrees. That's fine. It's not going to get that hot in here. But that means it's fine. On the other hand, freezing point is negative 32 degrees, which means that this does run the risk of freezing here because this gas is going to be like negative 410 degrees. So this would turn into a solid and we wouldn't be able to get there. We would have to destroy the gas, or we'd have to destroy the now solidified, what do you call it, viscogel. So that's why it's not here. Let's check how this is doing. 10 degrees. Coming in at 30, exiting at 10. So still cooling. And this is on the slowest speed. Very impressive, I think you will agree. And that is how we are going to do it. Eventually, once this... We're not going to do it immediately, but once this fills up enough with liquid, we'll finish these pumps. I'm going to deconstruct this later on. Once this starts filling up with water, with liquid, I will start deconstructing these. I'm going to reverse these. I'm going to start sending the petroleum back where it came from. And these will now be for liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen for our rockets so that we can go to the very end to reach the temporal tear and beat the game. Now that's going to take a little while, not to mention the trip to there is going to be very long. So in the meantime, we will be building the final thing. The monument. The monument requires quite a bit of resources. Its sole purpose is just to show you how cool you are. So this requires 7,500 steel to construct, along with 2,500 obsidian. We have both. This will require 5,000 steel. That'll start to run us a bit ragged. 2,500 diamond, and then we will need glass. So I'll need to run the glass machine 25 times. This will require 5,000 steel, 2,500 plastic, we already have that, and then ceramic, we'll need to run the ceramic thingy 25 times. So I don't quite have enough steel for starters. I'm going to need 175,000, so we're very close to it, to be honest, but we're not quite there. But at any rate, this is where we're going to do one heck of a jump cut, because I mean, I'll try to get a shot of the robominers in action, just so you can see the robominers working. But otherwise, yep, it's going to be one heck of a jump cut as I go to beat the game. At any rate, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back for a checkup on what's going on. So over here, look at this. It's raining because it's condensing. The oxygen is... let's check our temperatures real quick. We are currently outputting negative 343 degree supercoolant. Over here we're at negative 350. And so the oxygen turns into liquid oxygen at negative 300 degrees. So we're over that. And I've set this to shut off this at negative 350. So if the temperature is, as long as the temperature is above negative 350, the machine will run, meaning it will cool it down until it reaches this point. The reason for that is because there's no need for it to be any cooler, and it saves electricity because it'll hit this will shut off, and the bypass will allow the super cold coolant to go through here anyways, and it will basically start turning the oxygen into liquid oxygen for free. No electricity needed. Over here, still need to cool things down. Still need to focus on reducing the temperature. The hydrogen doesn't turn into liquid until a much colder temperature than that. You can also see over here, after it auto-saves, of course, that we do have our steam. This one seems to be running hotter than this one over here, which is why this one is on and that one's off. I transplanted some Weezeworts here to help push back against the heat generation against two of these. And as you can see right here, these things are doing fine. This Viscogel at 237 degrees, not a problem. This will not turn into gas for a very long time. It shouldn't be a problem in the slightest. So overall, the system is functioning. I'm really happy to see it work on its first try, basically. That's one thing that I really like seeing is the system essentially being done. And over here, let's go ahead and watch this meteor storm. We'll go ahead and run it at full speed. And you can see the robominers in action. I also found out something that was wrong about the cooling system, and I will show you the incorrect cooling system and the correct cooling system and why they were not behaving correctly. But first, let's go ahead and watch the meteors get cleaned up. So as you can see, you can already see the precious metals accumulating on the top because that's one of the rewards of mastering the top. You know, that's one thing I really like about games, where if the game is going to expect you to endure greater hardship and master more complex things, they need to find a way to reward you, and in this case, they're rewarding you with refined metal. Here we go. Our system is done. It's going to let them through. And the robominers immediately, let's get this out of the way, the robominers immediately get to work drilling through our regolith. First, they're taking care of the local ones, then you'll see they start to take care of the ones that are on top of the airflow tiles that are protecting them. They also heat up quite a bit, up to 350 degrees. But you can see here, this was up to 420, but you can see the temperature decreasing. 410. 400. 390, so you can see here that they are being cooled down. So let me show you how the correct system works. I was staring at it, I was wondering why. So here's the issue. We have the radiant thingamajiggies down here to transfer the heat, but let's slow it down. When it enters here, I was also using radiant pipes. You need to use insulated pipes. And the reason for that is because the radiant pipes will pick up some heat because it gets really hot in here. And what that means is this will never get a chance to cool them down to a really extremely low temperature. Like, we're already up to 450. And look at this, we're beginning to get our liquid hydrogen. It's beginning to, as you can see, rain down and solidify into a liquid, which is exactly what we want. We want this to turn into our liquid fuel. So, very good. Now, let's go over here and see why it's not working. So, over here, our crude oil is coming in at 490. And it's going to dump some heat off, and it comes back at about 420, and then it's going to cool it down to about 218. So this is doing its job. There's no doubt about that. This is cooling it down. The problem is that it's losing a lot of it's having a temperature transfer problem over here. Now, right now, it's working as intended. This stuff is really hot. But here's the problem. If there aren't any meteor showers, what's going to happen is that this liquid is going to stop being so hot. Instead of returning at about 450 degrees, it was starting to return at more like 290-ish degrees. And then what would happen is it would start to equalize down here, and it would never get a chance to get super cold. It would always wind up being about the same temperature. That was the problem that was occurring over here. So you want to make sure that you're not using your radiant pipes to transfer heat with this area here. You just keep them as insulated pipes and let this do the work. Let the thermo aquatuner heat up and let the thermo aquatuner heat up the liquid that it's in. That's the way that you do it. In addition to that, We are working on making a ton of glass. Getting a bit hot in here because we are cranking out a ton of glass. Let's see how we're looking. Steel. We are at the correct amount of steel. I believe we have the correct amount of ceramic and glass. We still need about 1,000 kilograms of more glass, and then we'll be able to build the monument. But at any rate, I'll be back again when I've got something to report. Okay, it's time for an update. What are we doing next? Well, it's time to begin building the monument. Now, I know this might not be the most epic of places to put the monument, but you know what? It's got to go somewhere. So it's going right here on a priority 9. Now, this thing needs... Let's go over the building requirements again. This thing needs 7,500. Oh, wow, they're going to build it in a hurry. I thought that was going to take forever to build. Well, geez. Good job. Let's build the next piece, the midsection, which is... This one requires 2,500 ceramic, 2,500 plastic, and 5,000 steel. And we happen to have all of that. We've been building the steel, we've been building the ceramic, we've been building everything. Man, I thought it would actually... I thought this was going to take a long... I'm not going to lie. I thought this was actually going to take a really long time. But they're actually supplying it really fast. The final piece. Furniture. The monument top. This one required 2,500 glass. That was the hardest one because you make 25 glass at a time. 2,500 diamond. The diamond's going to take a while for them to supply. I think they're only supplying 100 diamond at a time. The diamond might take a moment. And then another 5,000 steel. Let's see how it's doing. All it needs now is the diamond, but it needs a lot. It needs 2,400 kilograms of diamond. That's quite a bit, and I think they can only carry 100 kilograms at a time. Maybe some of them can carry more of it due to having upgrades that allow them to carry more. But because the diamond is scattered all over the place, that's an issue right there. That it's going to take them a moment to build to acquire the diamond. In the meantime, let's go over to a problem that we're having. We're out of hydrogen. You can see it down below. And if we go to screenshot location 4, you'll see that this is dormant, and it won't be active for 61 cycles. That's a little bit of a time, and so I'm thinking that there is a pocket of hydrogen right here. And I think I'm going to get in there and vacuum it all up and start sending it into the system. There's also some hydrogen that got trapped up here for some reason, not entirely sure why. Let's see how they're doing. Oh, they're getting there. Only 873 kilograms of diamond remaining. So, once they build this, we will have one of the major objectives completed, which we will... Let's go ahead and over the objectives again. Survive 200 cycles. No problem. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is my terrible Zelda find the amazing thing. Imperative achieved. Home sweet home. Oh, it's a cutscene. Oh, it's a more extensive cutscene. Few civilizations throughout time have had the privilege of understanding their origins. The one thing that matters is that we are here now, and we make the best of the world we've been given. I'm proud to say this asteroid is our home. Looks like the roof is a little ghetto. Perfect, I guess, for a ghetto prison. There we go, home sweet home. This is the last one, and then we'll have beaten the game. Maybe this will just be the episode right here. Maybe I'll actually end this episode with Home Sweet Home. And just have one last episode, The Great Escape. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think that's a really good idea, actually. So, well, prisoners, I think it's safe to say that you have graduated from prisoners to citizens. So welcome, everybody. Members of the channel, Kyler, SVS, Pancakes, WT Reed, Foosh King, King K, Matthew, Trey Graypaws, Jordan Sen, Icy Ace 1337, Adam the Welshman, Alex Godsey, NASA W, Wes, Joseph Bailey, and Joseph Davis, of course. The two Joes, been at the channel for a very long time. No longer are you prisoners. You are now residents, residential prisoners, inmates, whatever you want to call yourself. And soon you will be able to leave this asteroid behind because we have one last goal left. Wait, let me just... There we go. The temporal tear must be breached. It's what got us here, and it's what's going to get us out. All we need is the liquid... I'm about to say liquid nitrogen. The liquid hydrogen is all that's needed. And we need a lot more than this. And then we will be able to leave. And after that, what's going to happen? I'll probably take a week off of Oxygen Not Included, and then I will start the next asteroid, which will be Oceania, whatever it's called, the water-themed one. And what we'll do is we will make it to the surface, we'll launch one steam-powered rocket, and we'll count that as our victory point. Or maybe we'll count our victory point as this part here, just completing Home Sweet Home. Maybe that will be what we count as our victory point. It's up to you guys what you want to consider. You know, what do you want me to consider as the victory point? Overall, things are wrapping up. I'm really proud of it, to be honest. Like, this game took a lot of effort to learn how to play. I definitely will say that. It's very tricky. It takes a lot of effort. A lot of people have bought the game suddenly realizing that it's harder than it looks, you know, just because you've watched a playthrough, most of a playthrough, soon to be all of a playthrough, doesn't mean that you can just jump in there and replicate exactly what you see. No, it does take practice. And this game, definitely one of the most complex games I had played in quite some time. And I really enjoy it, though. I think it's a fantastic game. It really scratches a certain itch that I get every now and then for one of these kind of, like, really games that really make you think, but are not like just beat your head over the head, beat your face with like a frying pan or something, like something super obviously puzzling, like a really dedicated puzzler game. Like, just a fantastic game. I can't say enough good about Oxygen Not Included. At any rate, though, that's the end of this episode. Like this video if it was entertaining. Subscribe for the resolution. Hopefully next episode will be the resolution of Oxygen Not Included, Terra. In the next series, we're going to be trying to do as much as we can with water, as well as we are going to focus on using the new MEEPs, mandatory recreation stuff, soda fountain, beach chair. We're going to try to go out of our way to use the new features and try to go out of our way to use water in as many interesting ways as we can. But at any rate, that is that. Let me know what you think down in the comment section, and of course, remember that you don't have to be good to get good.